They informed my daughter that she wasn't invited after she had spent 3 full days in the kitchen, mixing, kneading, brushing melted butter onto pastry she rolled by hand, even baking my mother's favorite peach cobbler the way her grandmother taught her. My name is Michelle, and wherever you're listening from, stay with me. Have you ever stood there watching your child be treated like background noise and realized instantly that this was one of those moments that defined what kind of mother you are? Because when I saw her frozen in the middle of our kitchen, apron dusted white from flour, her face pale as she reread the message my father sent, something in me shifted so sharply it felt like a bone cracking. Change of plans. We're doing a restaurant instead. Adults only. That was it. No apology, no compassion. Not even a phone call. Just a tossed-off decree that erased days of her work, the menu she drafted, the place cards she designed by hand, the entire dining room she decorated for my mother's 68th birthday. Emma's voice came out small. Did I do something wrong? I looked straight into her eyes and said, "No, baby." But they did. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't pour my energy into people who clearly didn't value my daughter. I simply typed back one word to my father. Understood. Then I picked up my own phone and started making arrangements. Not to be petty, not to punish, but because I refused to let her believe that her kindness and effort were disposable. They wanted an adults-only celebration? Fine, they could enjoy it. But Emma and I were going to build something entirely different, something unforgettable. That night, while my parents toasted with overpriced wine and shallow conversations at some fancy seafood restaurant, Emma and I were out in our backyard lighting candles against the dusk. I invited the people who actually saw her, who appreciated her heart. We arranged every dish she'd poured herself into across the long picnic table, and then something magical happened. Word traveled. Fast. Faster than gossip, faster than resentment. One by one, people showed up. Neighbors, her favorite teacher, even the owner of a bakery where Emma once helped carry heavy sacks of flour. They arrived with desserts, guitars, bottles of wine, stories. They brought warmth. By midnight, our backyard was glowing with laughter. Music drifted across the fence lines. Someone started dancing. Someone else pulled out sparklers. And as the sun lifted its pale orange light 15 hours later, we were still up, talking, laughing, eating the last spoonfuls of cobblers straight from the pan. Then came a knock. No, more like a pounding, heavy enough to shake the door on its hinges. Guess who finally decided to show up? Too late, too exposed, too transparent in their sudden concern. My mother stood there first. Makeup smudged from the night before, her expensive coat clutched close like she was shielding herself. My father hovered behind her, rigid, tense, wearing the expression of a man not visiting, but managing a crisis. I didn't open the door right away. I let them stand there. Let them feel the waiting. Then I cracked it open. "Oh, good," I said, leaning on the door frame with a calm I didn't feel. "You made it. Peach cobbler's gone, though." My mother blinked in disbelief. "You hosted the party here? After we specifically said..." I stepped aside just enough for them to see inside. Emma, still wearing her pajama shorts, laughing at the table with her art teacher, plates piled high, music still humming softly through a small speaker, a room filled with genuine care, something they hadn't bothered to offer. "You said adults only," I told them, so that's what we did. We invited adults, the kind who know how to treat a 16-year-old like a person, not staff. My father cleared his throat, searching for control. "It was a misunderstanding. Your mother didn't intend to exclude her." I held my silence. Let it press on them. My mother softened her voice into the gentle, sugary tone she uses when she wants control without confrontation. "You're blowing this out of proportion, Michelle. The restaurant policy wouldn't allow minors. We didn't think it would be an issue." I cut her off. "You didn't think. Emma spent 3 days preparing that meal, and you knew it. You asked for your favorite sweet potatoes. She made them. She set your table. She folded every napkin. She tried to honor you." My father snapped and said sharply, "That wasn't her job." "Exactly," I replied. "But she did it out of love. And you told her she wasn't welcome like it meant nothing." They stood, awkward, and suddenly aware of the crack forming beneath their feet. I tilted my head. "Tell me something. Which hurts more? Being left out, or realizing the people you left out threw a better party without you?" I didn't wait for an answer. I closed the door gently. Not in anger, in truth. On the other side, Emma looked at me with concern. "You okay, Mom?" I smiled. "Perfect, sweet girl. Let's heat up the mac and cheese." Because revenge doesn't always shout. It warms rooms, fills plates, and chooses better company. By Monday, the calls started one after another. My aunt, my cousin, then the crown jewel, a voicemail from my father starting, "This family has always respected tradition." I listened to it like it was an ad interrupting a YouTube video. Flat, pointless, because I finally understood. Their tradition wasn't about love. It was about obedience, about appearances, about never questioning the hierarchy. Emma came home that afternoon, shoulders tense. "Grandma ignored me in the hallway," she whispered. "She walked right past me." My heart ached. This wasn't about a party anymore. It was about the long-running pattern, how my parents disregarded anyone who didn't mirror them. Emma, with her bright mind, her baking, her neurodivergent spark they never cared to learn, she was a reminder of everything they couldn't mold, so they punished her the only way they knew. Silence. That night, I pulled out a stack of old photo albums. We flipped through holidays, birthdays, gatherings, page after page. "Mom, I'm in every picture, but I'm never really in them," she whispered. "I'm just helping." My throat tightened. "They don't get to define your value," I told her. "They don't get to mute your joy." That's when the decision formed in my chest. We're throwing you a party. A big one. For no reason other than the fact that you exist. I rented the community center, booked the little indie band she loved, ordered a custom cake with a single word in gold frosting. Scene. I posted the invitation online. I didn't tag a single member of my family, but small towns are leaky. Soon my parents realized the entire community was saying yes to an event they weren't mentioned in. The day came. Emma walked inside wearing a shimmering gold dress she chose herself. She looked radiant. Not staged, not polished, radiant in a way that came from being valued. People brought baked goods, cards, flowers from their gardens. They hugged her. They celebrated her. There was one empty table in the back, a symbolic invitation to the people who taught her what absence feels like. Around 5, I noticed a luxury car creeping through the parking lot. My father. He didn't park, didn't step out, just watched from a distance before driving away. I refused to let it dim anything. Emma gave a speech, her voice trembling but brave, thanking people for believing in her when she forgot how to believe in herself. I bit my lip to keep from crying. Then the room shifted. A path opened. Megan, my sister, stepped inside holding a small wrapped package. Emma tensed. They hadn't spoken since last year. "I didn't come for Mom or Dad," Megan said softly. "I came for her." She handed Emma the package. Inside was a framed picture of the 2 girls as toddlers baking cookies in Grandma's kitchen. "I was too scared to defend you before," Megan whispered, "but I'm here now." Emma teared up. "Thank you," she whispered. They stood there, under the soft string lights, sisters in a way I hadn't seen in years. Later, Megan pulled me aside. "You know Dad's been speaking with a lawyer about his will. But honestly, it might be too late to fix the fallout." And she was right. Our quiet act had caused ripples so wide, they'd started touching everything. It all circled back 15 hours after the first party, when I was washing dishes and pulling down string lights. Another pounding hit the door, jagged and desperate. I opened it slowly. My mother stood there, face tight, eyes rimmed with red, still dressed like she'd come from Sunday service, except she wasn't holding her Bible. Her hands shook. "We need to talk," she said. No greeting, no sorry, just entitlement dressed in pearls. I'd crossed my arms. I didn't move. "You embarrassed us," she hissed, "posting pictures involving strangers, making your father look cruel.
He did that himself when he told a child she wasn't invited, I replied. She stiffened. I raised you better than this, she shot back. No, I answered calmly. You raised me to stay quiet through mistreatment, to protect the image, not the person. You raised me to perform, not to defend. Her breath caught. And that's where this part ends. You think that party makes you a better parent? No, I replied. Emma does. The way she holds space for others, the way she forgives, the way she still hoped you'd show up even after you erased her. That's what makes me proud. She didn't speak for the first time. She looked uncertain. Then she took a trembling breath. Your father's rewriting the state. He's hurt and he's angry. I almost laughed. So this isn't a visit, it's a warning. She didn't deny it. She just looked past me into the house. You're making a mistake. He won't change his mind. I stepped forward and gently closed the door halfway. I'm not asking him to. Let him keep the inheritance. Let him clutch it like it buys him absolution. I don't want it. Her eyes widened. You're throwing away millions over a child's feelings? No, I said calmly. I'm protecting my daughter's soul. You taught me the cost of neglect. I'm teaching her the value of worth. And then I shut the door. Behind it, my hands were trembling, but inside me there was no doubt. Because when you break cycles, it doesn't come with applause. It comes with slammed doors, trembling voices, late-night visits filled with veiled threats. But I wasn't a scared daughter anymore. I was the mother who said enough. And in that silence, I heard something new. The sound of legacy shifting. 2 days later, I got a letter, not an email, not a call, a thick envelope, cream-colored, hand-delivered, from a law office in our town, same one my dad had used for decades. I knew before opening it, but what I didn't expect was how detailed it was. Page after page, spelling out how my parents were removing me and my daughter from every trust, every property deed, every long-promised inheritance. No college fund, no share in the family vacation home, no access to the family foundation I helped build when I was barely out of college. Signed, stamped, witnessed. Their revenge was legal, their cruelty official. But what struck me most was the tone. Cold, surgical, as if I was a liability being erased from a spreadsheet. Emma walked in when I was still holding the letter. She took one look at my face and froze. Mom? I turned slowly. I wanted to hide it, to shield her, but I also knew I couldn't lie. They cut us out, I said. She didn't blink. She stepped forward, took the letter, skimmed it with calm I didn't know she had, and then, "Good," she said. I stared. Emma. No, Mom, she said firmly. They did it when they uninvited me. This is just them admitting it on paper. I never felt prouder of her than I did in that moment. But something still burned in me. Not anger, not regret, resolve. I spent the next 3 days making calls. Not to lawyers, to people. The ones who came to the party, who posted photos, who whispered things to me on their way out like, "Your father always did play favorites," or "It's about time someone in your family did right by that girl." Turns out that little party stirred something, and not just in our town. A local journalist had written a heartfelt blog post about it. The girl the birthday forgot. By the end of the week, it went viral. Thousands of shares. National outlets picked it up. Talk shows called in asking for interviews. I refused them all. But something bigger happened. A nonprofit in New York, one focused on teens left behind by family trauma, reached out. They wanted Emma to speak at their youth gala. They'd pay for travel, hotel, the whole thing, because her story was resonating, not because it was unique, but because it was far too common. And in her pain, she gave others language. My parents had erased her from a table, but now she was being handed a stage. The ballroom was golden. Hundreds of guests, ceiling lit like a dusk sky, cameras flashing softly in corners while servers passed around sparkling cider. And there on a stage, barely 2 feet high, stood Emma, 16 years old, wearing the same burgundy dress she baked in days ago with sleeves rolled up and flour on her cheek, except now her back was straight, her voice clear. She told a story without bitterness. Not once did she mention my parents' names. She simply said, "I cooked for people who said they loved me." Then they said I wasn't invited, and it hurt, but something surprising happened. Strangers showed up instead. People who saw me, ate with me, danced with me, and I realized maybe love isn't about blood. Maybe it's about who pulls up a chair when everyone else walks away. The room was silent, not politely, but reverently. Then someone stood and clapped. Then another, then the entire ballroom. People wept. A senator's wife whispered to me in the lobby, "She's what this country needs more of." Back at the hotel, Emma collapsed on the bed, laughing nervously. "Was that okay?" I held her face in my hands. "You just turned pain into power, baby. That was more than okay." The next morning, things changed, not publicly, but intimately. I got a message from my brother, the one who had always stayed quiet, who watched from the sidelines while I got passed over, silenced, shamed for standing up. He wrote, "I saw the video. I had no idea. I'm sorry I didn't stand up sooner. Mom and Dad are furious, but honestly, they should be." He told me something else too, that my parents were scrambling, that board members of the family foundation were concerned about their public image, that a few were even threatening to step down if things didn't change. Apparently, the optics of cutting out your granddaughter after a viral teen speech doesn't sit well with donors. Still, I wasn't interested in vengeance, didn't need them to gravel, didn't need the fake apologies. What I needed was already here. My daughter, braver than I ever was at 16, loved not by obligation, but by choice. And as we boarded the plane back home, she leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "I think I want to start something for other girls like me." That's when I knew this story wasn't about a party, it was about a spark. When they tried to blow out, and only made brighter. It started with a name. Emma came into my room one night with a sketch pad clutched to her chest. She said, "I want to call it the Table Project." I blinked. "The what?" She grinned. "You know, for girls like me. Girls who got left out."
I want to build a space for them, real tables, virtual ones, where they always have a seat. I sat there stunned. All I'd wanted was to protect her, but somehow, through all the pain, she had found purpose. We launched a small website. No fancy PR, no big budget, just a few words. Everyone deserves a seat. And if they don't give you one, we'll build you a table. Within days, donations poured in. Not from celebrities, not from corporations, from single moms, from teachers, from grandmothers who said, "This reminds me of what they did to my daughter." A local community center offered free space. A bakery donated food for our first event, the same one that delivered that chocolate cake to our tiny Defiant dinner party. By spring, Emma was hosting monthly gatherings for teens. By summer, the Table Project had a grant from a women-led foundation. By fall, a publisher approached her about a book. And my parents? They watched it all unfold. They saw their granddaughter on television, saw people cheer for the girl who got forgotten and refused to stay quiet. My dad called once, left a voicemail, said, "We made a mistake. Can we talk?" But Emma, she listened to it, deleted it, then said calmly, "It's not my job to help them sleep at night." I didn't disagree, because here's the truth. Forgiveness is powerful, but boundaries are holy. We didn't seek revenge. We sought healing. And sometimes the sweetest justice isn't slamming a door. It's opening a new one they no longer have the key to. So now every time a girl walks through the doors of the Table Project and sits down, I remember that text my father sent. It's adults only. And I smile. Because my daughter, she made her own guest list. And this time, no one gets left out.